All right, today we're doing something really cool. We are going to tear down a real multi-million-dollar international trade deal piece by piece using the actual contracts. Let's dive right in. We hear about global trade all the time, but how does it really work? I mean, how do companies from totally different countries actually agree to move thousands of tons of something like coal across an ocean? Well, we're going to peel back the layers and see exactly how it's done. So, every deal has its main characters, and this one has three. First up, we've got the buyer, Gacta JSC over in Vietnam. Then from Indonesia, you've got two partners working together, PT Bukit Asam Prima, we'll just call him BAP, who's the main seller. And then there's PT Dua Bintang Kriasindo, or DBK, who's listed as the co-seller. So, three companies, two countries, one big deal. Okay, so the first place we gotta look is the official paperwork that ties them all together, the Master Coal Supply Contract. Think of this as the public blueprint for the entire transaction.
And we're not talking about small change here. The deal kicks off with just a single trial shipment valued at almost $1.0 million. I mean, wow. That tells you right away the stakes are super high from the get-go. Now, the way this is structured is actually really smart. It's not one giant commitment up front. It's built in two phases. Step one is this trial shipment of 20,000 tons. It's basically a test run for everyone to check the coal, make sure the shipping works, and just, build a little trust. If that goes smoothly, then boom, step two kicks in automatically. A massive year-long contract for 240,000 tons. It's like a try before you buy, but for millions of dollars of coal. For that all-important first shipment, the terms are CFR, which stands for cost and freight. So what does that actually mean in plain English? It means the sellers, our two Indonesian partners, are on the hook for everything. Not just getting the coal, but also paying for the entire boat ride all the way to Vietnam. It's a big commitment from their side.
But any big deal is a negotiation, right? And this is where things get really interesting. The buyer, Gagta, came in with some last-minute changes to the contract that totally flipped the script on who was taking on the most risk. Let's see what they did. Okay, check this out. First, the buyer got more specific on the coal size, down from 50 millimeters to 30. But the real game changer was this second one. The final quality inspection was supposed to happen in Indonesia, before the ship even left. The buyer changed it so the final check happens when the ship arrives in Vietnam. Why is that such a massive deal? Here's the bottom line. By moving that final check to their own turf, the buyer basically said, if anything happens to this coal on that long ocean journey, if it gets wet, if it breaks down, if it's not perfect when it gets here, that's your problem. All the risk, all $1.8 million of it, just got dumped squarely onto the sellers.
So you gotta wonder, right? With all that risk now piled on them, how are these two Indonesian partners making this work? How is this partnership structured? And maybe most importantly, who's actually fronting the cash for all this?
To follow the money, you have to understand the letter of credit, or LC. It's the heart of pretty much all international trade. It's basically a rock-solid guarantee from the buyer's bank. It says, if the seller delivers the goods and has the right paperwork, we promise you'll get paid. It's all about security.
And here is a huge clue. The master contract, the public one, is crystal clear. Even though there are two sellers, all the money, the entire $1.8 million LC, is made out to just one of them, PT Bukit Asam Prima, BAP.
So that begs a huge question, doesn't it? If BAP gets all the cash, what is the other company DBK even doing in this deal? Are they just along for the ride? And again, who is putting up all the money to buy the coal and ship it in the first place? Something doesn't quite add up yet.
And the answer, well, it's not in that main contract. It's hidden in a second, totally confidential agreement. This is a private deal signed only between the two Indonesian partners, and it reveals the real engine driving this whole operation. And boom, just like that, it all makes sense. Inside this private deal, the roles are perfectly clear. BAP, they're the silent partner. They are the funder, the ones with the deep pockets. And DBK, they're the front man. They're the operator, the ones who found the buyer and are managing all the logistics on the ground.
And that's why the LC goes directly to BAP, because the secret deal shows they are footing the entire bill. We're talking 100% of the working capital needed to buy all that coal from the mine, get it to the port, and pay for that expensive trip to Vietnam. But here's the kicker. BAP might have the money, but they're not shouldering all the risk. This quote from their private agreement is incredible. It basically says BAP will pay for everything, but if that shipment gets rejected in Vietnam because of quality, DBK, you owe us every last cent. The money and the risk are perfectly divided.
So, after all that, what's the reward? Well, once the buyer pays, BAP gets its entire investment back first. And then, whatever profit is left over, it's split right down the middle. 50% for BAP, the funder, 50% for DBK, the operator. It's a clean, simple split that keeps both of them totally motivated.
So let's step back for a second. What can we learn from this whole thing? Because this isn't just a story about one coal deal. It's actually a fantastic blueprint for how these massive international trades really get done. I mean, the anatomy of this thing is just a masterclass. You start small with a trial run to build trust. You use a public contract to lock in the buyer. The buyer naturally uses their leverage to shift the risk. But the real magic is that secret internal agreement that spells out exactly who brings the money, who does the work, and who carries the risk. And that perfect 50-50 profit split, that's the glue holding the whole thing together.
Ultimately, what this structure really does is combine the best of both worlds. You get the financial muscle and stability of a big company like BAP, and you pair it with the hustle, the connections, and the agility of a smaller operator like DBK. It's a really powerful combination.
So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. After peeling back all these layers, who do you think is really holding the most risk here? Is it the buyer who has to scramble for a new supplier if this fails? Is it the funder with nearly $2 million of their own cash on the line? Or is it the operator whose entire profit and reputation depends on a perfect performance halfway around the world? There's no easy answer.